Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to our Thursday morning, September 26th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Tom's left, Brandy Spangler, who'll be taking care of us today. Good morning, Brandy. To my right, Commissioner Candace Payne.
Good morning.
Good morning. To her right, we have Deputy County Attorneys Nico Hash and Keegan Shea. Good morning, gentlemen. And our Chief Administrative Officer, Roger Baltz. Just a reminder, there are agendas up front as well as a sign-in sheet. We'd like everyone to sign in, please. Make sure we have a good record of who's attended our public meeting. And we will jump right in with our consent action items. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'll read the items into the record for your consideration. The first one is item 2A, Vendor Claims Report, week ending September 27, 2024. Staff recommends approval, and Marnie Bentley is with us today as usual for these types of items. Item 2B is acknowledgement of termination of agreements. Staff recommends approval of that item. And the last item is item 2C, denial of claim McPhee. And staff recommends approval of that item as well. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Baltz. Any questions, Commissioners? On the consent items? Any public comment on the consent action items? Any public comment on consent? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Oh, before we move on, I'd like to make a public comment about how we do these consent action items. You know, we don't just have Roger read them to us and then we just assume we like them. We've actually had phone conversations. County Attorney's Office has spoken with, I'm sure, each of us on these items, and we're agreeing to them because we have taken the time to understand them and looking out for the best interests of our constituents.
Okay, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve consent action items 2A, 2B, 2C as presented by Mr. Baltz.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded to approve consent action items as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is task order number 3 between Lewis and Clark County and Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Before you is our third.
Your name?
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Kyle Sturgill-Simon, Emergency Manager for Lewis and Clark County. Before you is task order number 3 for utilizing our contract with Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group, using some funds from our Title III funding this year to get some hazardous fuels reduction done on a property out in the St. Louis Gulch area, as well as to do up to 20 home risk assessments that are provided for free by Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group to members of or constituents of Lewis and Clark County. Great.
Questions, Commissioners? Not the first time we've done something like this or had an opportunity for these kinds of funds. It's a regular occurrence to work with and partner with the Fire Safe Working Group, Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group. Can you just talk about it a little bit? I'm talking too fast. I can't even get my words out. Can you just give us a little insight on what the group does and why we do it?
Absolutely. So Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group is our private nonprofit partner that we've contracted with to do mitigation work in the county as grant funds are made available. They do free risk assessments for property owners. They come out, do a look around the property, provide a prescription, telling the property owner what would be best to make the home more ignition resistant and safer during a wildfire. Some of these items are things that the property owner can do themselves. Some of those things may be things that are best done by a contractor, either with heavy equipment or special skill set. And Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group will work with those homeowners to get them in touch with proper contractors, and then also do the project through grant funding as available to help alleviate the cost.
Great. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sturgill-Simon. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve task order number 3 between Lewis and Clark County and the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Group as explained by Mr. Sturgill-Simon.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the task order as presented. Further discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just think this is a great opportunity for folks to protect their homes. And I encourage people who haven't looked at that seriously, that live anywhere near the forest, to take a hard look at that and connect with the Tri-County Fire Safe Working Groups to get their place assessed.
Thank you. Excellent point. All right, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is an intercap loan application to the Montana Board of Investments. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Attached for your consideration is a copy of the intercap loan application to be submitted to the Montana Board of Investments. This loan request is in the amount of $76,367 and is intended to fund road improvements within the Ryan's Lane RID. This district is located to the east of North Montana Avenue, just north of the irrigation canal and about a mile north of CR Road. Improvements include the installation of an asphalt apron at the transition of Ryan's Lane and North Montana Avenue, drainage remediation throughout Ryan's Lane and Britton's Way, and new gravel surfacing material on Ryan's Way and Britton's Way. Financing of these improvements is estimated to total $76,367, and benefiting property owners will be assessed $715 per year for a period of 15 years until the debt is repaid. Resolution 2024-102 to levy and assess the Ryan's Lane RID was adopted by the board on September 19th. The intercap loan program uses a variable interest rate, which is set on February 16th of each year. Currently, the interest rate is 5.75%. The 10-year average rate is 2.89%, and the overall average since the program began in 1987 is 3.9%. Intercap applications are submitted electronically, and a copy of the online application has been included in the packet for your review. If approved today, the Public Works Department will submit the final application and move forward with the preparation of procurement for the improvements included in the Ryan's Lane RID. Staff recommend approval of the attached loan application, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just right off the bat, this is essentially, I'll call it the final step in this process. So for those that might not be aware of how this came to be, the citizens or group of citizens that live on these roads brought a petition to us to create an RID. We've gone through that process, which is a multi-step process, and they asked for this outcome, which is an opportunity to do a project on their property, and they agreed up front or asked us to create this RID so that they could fund a way to make these improvements and maintain these roads. Correct.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. This RID was citizen initiated, and a citizen did bring this up to the county. We provided estimates of what we believed it would cost to improve this road network. And that was put into a petition document, which is circulated and signed by supporting benefiting property owners throughout this district. That moved through the process of 3 public hearings, the first being that intention to create the district, which required legal notice being sent to all property owners and published also in the Helena Independent Record. That comment and protest period was open for 30 days. And when that concluded, we held that public hearing to consider the creation of this district. There was one protest received, but primarily the concern was holding off on the district for 1 year. Because the resolution to levy and assess, which is that third public hearing, because that happened after September 1st, it just happened last week, that assessment won't actually be added to the property tax bill until November of 2025. So that concern from that property owner, I think, is taken care of in that way. That being said, this did go through that series of 3 public hearings for creation that concluded last week. And the reason that we have to do all of that before we can apply for this loan is when we do apply for this loan, we have the application that's before you in the packet, but the Montana Board of Investments also requires that we include all of the supporting documentation for these districts. So all of those resolutions that created the district, that levied and assessed the district, the legal notice that goes out to all of these property owners has to be included. We have to include those affidavits of publication. Again, ensuring that we've followed all the statutory requirements for RID creation prior to applying for the loan.
Great. Thank you very much for the recap. Any other questions?
Are you going to say something in addition?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, I was not.
Okay. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Thank you.
Okay. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment on this loan application? Any public comment? Hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the intercap loan application to the Montana Board of Investments as presented to us by Jessica Makis.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded to approve the loan application as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for the kind of the overview of all of that for those that might not have been participatory in our last several meetings on this. Okay, commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and Rocky Mountain Operations LLC. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, or Mr. Chair. Again, Jessica Makis, Special Districts Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Before you this morning is a contract with Rocky Mountain Operations LLC to provide drainage, trail, and roadside maintenance within various rural improvement districts throughout Lewis and Clark County. Work under this contract will be completed on an on-call basis as needed for this, as the need for this maintenance arises in RIDs. Contractors for this work were solicited through a request for qualifications, which were due on August 23rd, 2024. This type of solicitation was used with the intent to create a roster of qualified contractors to work in RIDs over the next 3 years. 5 statements of qualifications, or SOQs, were received and reviewed by an evaluation committee based on the information included in the SOQ. This contract pertains to drainage infrastructure maintenance, such as culvert maintenance, ditch maintenance, infiltration system maintenance, and other related services within RIDs. Additionally, trail maintenance, such as material upkeep and related services, is also included in the scope of this contract. Each project will be detailed in specific work orders that specify the individual scope of service needed, and those will be offered to contractors based on the qualifications provided through this solicitation. Projects will be awarded based on cost and contractor availability. I will just say that this is, we have all 5 of these statements of qualifications that were received. We did offer contracts to all of these contractors, and I'll present these all this morning. So this is one of 5. But staff recommend approval of the contract with Rocky Mountain Operations LLC and authorize the chair to sign contract documents.
Thank you very much. I'll just, again, jump in and ask a quick question or just clarification for those that might be watching. This essentially gives us the opportunity to pre-approve or to have these contractors at the ready. So when something comes up, we can choose the contractor that best maybe fits that particular project or is next on the list or however the rotation works. But we have pre-vetted them essentially through this process. And when something comes up in an RID, we don't have to start from the beginning and take, which could be a relatively long process to get them on board prior to going out and doing the work. We have vetted them prior. Something happens, we can ask them to go out and address the issue in an RID, whether that's ditch work or results of a storm or regular maintenance for that matter. So
Yes.
can you speak to that a little?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's absolutely correct. So a lot of our drainage maintenance within RIDs differs a little bit from our road maintenance. Our road maintenance often follows a schedule, right? We know generally what that will be each year and can predict that a little bit more easily. With drainage maintenance, there's certainly an element of that, such as, cleaning culverts and things like that, that we anticipate annually. But as you said, storms or other kinds of impacts to drainage can cause the need, result in the need for on-call drainage contractors to be ready for project specific things that may come up for us in rural improvement districts. Because of the nature of this, because we don't necessarily know the full scope of what we need over the course of time, this is when a request for qualifications is beneficial to create that roster of contractors to, again, like you stated, be at the ready as the need arises. That being said, when those projects do arise, those will be detailed in specific work orders and then offered to with the qualified contractors as needed.
Thanks for that bit of detail, because
Yeah.
it's not just sending people out, but we would set up then a specific work order. This is what we want you to do, and this is how and the scope of it and all of that.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. We'd set those expectations at that time.
Right. Any other questions, commissioners?
Just a comment, now that I understand this is one of several, so I was a little confused at first, but your explanation is, and it's, like being ready for winter with the stockpiles of sand and all the things we do, because we know it's just a matter of time. So being prepared, and I really appreciate the work that you and the special districts program have taken care of for us, and let's do.
Thank you,
prepared.
Commissioner. Any other comments?
Well said.
Okay. All right, thank you. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Rocky Mountain Operations LLC as presented by Jessica Makis.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and Coyle Excavation LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator with Lewis and Clark County. Before you this morning is a contract with Coyle Excavation LLC to provide drainage, trail, and roadside maintenance within various rural improvement districts throughout Lewis and Clark County. Work under this contract, again, will be completed on an on-call basis as needed within our RIDs throughout the county. This maintenance, again, was solicited through a request for qualifications, which was due on August 23rd, 2024. This type of solicitation was used with the intent to create that roster of qualified contractors to work in RIDs over the next 3 years. 5 statements of qualifications were received and reviewed by an evaluation committee based on that information provided in the SOQ. Again, each project needed under this contract will be detailed in work order that specifies in the individual scope of service and offered to contractors based on the qualifications provided in the solicitation. Projects will be awarded based on cost and contractor availability. Staff recommend approval of the contract with Coyle Excavation LLC and authorize the chair to sign contract documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? Any questions? Okay. About public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Coyle Excavation LLC as explained by Ms. Makis.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, thank you. Next item on the agenda is contract between Lewis and Clark County and Gruber Excavating. Please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Jessica Makis, Special Districts Coordinator. Before you this morning is a contract with Gruber Excavating to provide drainage, trail, and roadside maintenance within various rural improvement districts throughout Lewis and Clark County. This contract again pertains to drainage infrastructure maintenance such as culvert maintenance, ditch maintenance, infiltration system maintenance, and related services throughout rural improvement districts in Lewis and Clark County. This contract was solicited through a request for qualifications that was due in late August. Staff recommend approval of the contract with Gruber Excavating and authorize the chair to sign contract documents.
Thank you so much. Questions, Commissioner? Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Hearing none? Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Gruber Excavating as presented by Jessica Makis.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion, Commissioner? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Next item on the agenda is contract between Lewis and Clark County and Premier Utility Solutions. Please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator, Lewis and Clark County. We have before you a contract with Premier Utility Solutions LLC to provide the drainage, trail, and roadside maintenance in an on-call basis in various rural improvement districts throughout Lewis and Clark County. Again, this maintenance was solicited through a request for qualifications, where contractors then submitted back a statement of qualifications. Each project that will go under this contract will be detailed in a specific work order, specifying individual scope of services, and then offered to available contractors and awarded based on cost and contractor availability. Staff recommend approval of the contract with Premier Utility Solutions LLC and authorize the chair to sign contract documents.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioners? Just ask that this is not something new. We do this on a regular basis and same kind of thing that we've done over the years.
Mr. Chair, that's right. And this happens a lot with public works, specifically, I think with bridge work and other engineering firms to have this roster of qualified services available as needed for the county.
Great, thank you. Okay, Commissioners. No questions? How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Premier Utility Solutions as explained by Ms. Makis.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and Valley Sand and Gravel LLC.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Jessica Makis, Special Districts Coordinator. This is our last one. This is the contract with Valley Sand and Gravel LLC, again, to provide that drainage, trail, and roadside maintenance work within various rural improvement districts throughout Lewis and Clark County on an on-call basis as needed as this maintenance work arises. Again, this was solicited through a request for qualifications, and interested contractors submitted a statement of qualifications. Again, 5 were received and 5 contracts are being proposed here. Again, each project with work under this contract will be detailed in a specific work order and awarded based on cost and contractor availability. Staff recommend approval of the contract with Valley Sand and Gravel LLC and authorize the chair to sign all contract documents.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioners? Public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Valley Sand and Gravel LLC as presented by Jessica Makis.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion, Commissioners? Please.
A comment on all of these contracts. I find it quite fascinating to, in the materials provided is a list of all the equipment these people have and all the or not all, but the projects where they've worked that people think they've done a good job. I'm impressed. What a great information source for when the emergency comes up and our Public Works Department has to make some decisions right away. And this is exactly what they need for emergency planning. So good job.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comment? Just with gratitude, thank you for bringing this forward, making sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's and ready to go. So appreciate that. All right, Commissioners, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we will move on. The next item on the agenda is preliminary plat application for Droptine Meadows subdivision. Good morning.
Good, excuse me. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Rachel Ward with Community Development and Planning. Before you is a request for subdivision 2024-001, which is a 5-lot first minor subdivision called Droptine Meadows subdivision. It's located just east of Valley Drive and north of York Road. The property owners and applicants are James and Michelle Mitchell, and their technical representative is J Barty Engineers. And for the record, I just want to note that I did provide a copy of all agency comments that we received to the applicant and their consultant on September 10th and on September 23rd, and a copy of the staff report was provided to them on September 24th. So this is a vicinity map. You can see the subject property is located in an area characterized by generally low density residential development and agricultural use. You'll also notice the property just to the west, which will formerly used for gravel extraction. So as I mentioned, this is a first minor subdivision. Applicant would like to divide a 10-acre parcel into 5 lots, each one for single-family residential use. The lots will be between 1.1 and 5 acres in size, and all lots are proposed to be served by individual wells, on-site wastewater treatment systems, and utilities. Direct access to the lots is proposed via an on-site internal access road, which the applicants propose to call Droptine Drive. They also propose to utilize an existing off-site fire suppression water source that's located on Lisa Drive to meet the fire protection requirements of Appendix K. They are requesting 2 variances to the subdivision regulations. The first one is to Chapter 11H4, which requires access to adjacent parcels for an interconnected road network. And the second variance is to Chapter 11S, Appendix K, Section 18-4.65, which requires that the fire protection agency having jurisdiction not have to cross an arterial or major collector road to get to an off-site water supply system for fire suppression. And I'll speak more about those variances in a moment. But just lastly, want to note that because this is a first minor subdivision, there are no requirements to dedicate parkland. So this is an illustration of the preliminary plat of Droptine Meadows subdivision. And I just want to note a few things on this. So the first you'll see in this northwest corner is a 20-foot wide irrigation ditch easement. It just kind of traverses that northwest corner. It is a private and fairly shallow irrigation ditch, but according to the applicant, it does serve the agricultural property to the north. Because this ditch is relatively shallow, no fencing is being proposed at this time. The preliminary plat also shows the county road and utility easement for Drop Tine Drive, which will terminate in a hammerhead turnaround. It's been oriented in such a way that it will provide access to the lot to the north. And I'll again speak a bit more to the variances in a bit, but the subdivision will not provide road connectivity to the parcels to the east or to the west. So you can kind of see how that road will be oriented within that county road and utility easement. The applicant is proposing to establish 2 stormwater ponds for the subdivision, as noted on their DEQ lot layout. They will be located within 2 40 by 40 foot maintenance easements to be privately maintained. And then lastly, the preliminary plat shows a 60 foot by 60 foot fire protection water supply access and maintenance easement. This will be removed from the final plat if the applicant is granted the variance to Appendix K, Section 18-4.6, number 5, and if they're allowed to use an offsite fire suppression water source. So it's shown on the preliminary plat, but if they use an offsite fire suppression source, they will not have this on the final plat. So a few other pertinent facts about the subdivision. In order to meet the requirement for fire protection outlined in Appendix K of the subdivision regulations, the applicant is proposing to use an offsite fire suppression water source located on Lisa Drive. The system consists of a well, a pump house, and a shepherd's hook that's currently maintained by the East Valley Fire District and is located within a fire protection access fire protection access easement. The system currently produces approximately 345 gallons per minute, which does exceed the 250 gallon per minute requirement needed to serve the proposed 5-lot minor subdivision. The fire district has provided comments indicating that they are fine with using this system to serve the Drop Tine Meadows development. However, in order to meet the requirements of Appendix K and to use this offsite fire suppression system, the regulations require that the fire protection agency having jurisdiction is not allowed to cross a major collector or arterial road. In this case, because the system is on the south side of York Road and is approximately 3/4 mile to the west, the applicant is requesting a variance to that standard there. And this is a illustration, a picture of that system. Second, because York Road is a major collector road, a no access restriction is going to be required on the final plat along York Road so that any driveways are accessed via the internal subdivision road, Drop Tine Drive. And then finally, the Water Quality Protection District did provide comments indicating that the area is known to have some water quality issues, in particular uranium, which is found in the area and especially as you get closer to the Spokane Hills. Arsenic as well, which is found in areas within proximity to HBID canals. And lastly, nitrates, which are found in areas with significant areas where ag production occurs. The applicant did take samples for all 3 of these elements from nearby well on Anders Road, and all the samples were below state and federal maximum contaminant levels. So as I mentioned, in order to move forward with this proposal, the applicant is requesting 2 variances. The first variance is to Chapter 11, H4, which states, whenever physically feasible, all roads shall connect to other roads within the neighborhood or development and connect to existing or projected through streets and provide access to adjacent parcels as part of an interconnected road network outside of the development. The applicant is proposing to terminate Drop Tine Drive in a hammerhead turnaround, oriented in such a way that the road will connect to the property to the north. However, the applicants would like to not extend the road or road easement to properties to the east and to the west. Given the existing residential development to the east and the property to the west, just given the topography of the area, it was used for gravel extraction in the past and likely not to be further developed.
Nice to ask a question about that.
Sure.
Before we go on. The properties to the east and the west, each currently are accessed off of York Road. They have their own current access. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Chair. So yeah, you can see just to the east, there's kind of these two lots. They do already have existing driveways,
Right.
accesses onto York Road, as well as the property to the west.
And I guess my point is, if there were, if we followed that requirement to a T and had access to the east and the west, there's a essentially redundancy there. There's already access off York Road. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that's correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner, your question?
Since we have the map up here, I'd like to know where the fire suppression well is located on this map. Can you show us?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, it's not visible on this vicinity map. I can pull up an aerial imagery from our interactive map. It's located 3/4 of a mile to the
Maybe
west.
use your mouse to show kind of the general direction.
Yep. So, so as you're going along York Road to the west, it's not on
down.
this map, but it's just
Okay,
right over here.
thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. Okay. So the second variance that the applicant is requesting is to Chapter 11S, Appendix K, Section 18.46, number 5, which requires that the utilization of offsite water supply system does not require the fire protection agency having jurisdiction to travel on arterial or major collector roads, cross railroad crossings, or travel on roads with grades in excess of 11% to deliver water from the offsite water supply system to the subdivision. So instead of establishing a new on-site fire suppression water system in that 60 by 60 foot easement that I illustrated before, the applicant is looking to meet the requirements of Appendix K by using an offsite source. There's 5 requirements to do so. One of them is that they not cross a major arterial or collector. The system that they're proposing to use off Lisa Drive is about 1 mile from the subdivision, but is located on the opposite side of York Road, which is why they need this variance. Lastly, as part of the review process, a summary of the proposal and the preliminary plat was sent to various public agencies noted in the staff report. We received 9 agency comments, including from the Lewis and Clark County Public Works Department. They indicated that they don't have any comments at this point. The address coordinator provided their standard comments regarding address plaques and road name. The Water Quality Protection District, I went over their comments as well. Their recommendation also that wells be drilled to as deep as possible and also to continue to monitor nitrates on a yearly basis. The Noxious Weed Department had no comments. The floodplain manager had no comments. MDT indicated that the applicant will need to work with them to obtain an approach permit, which they have done. The HVID indicated that there are no HVID canals or drainages. DEQ Open Cut Mining was contacted. They do not have any information or permits regarding the property to the west and the former gravel extraction that occurred there. And then lastly, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Park indicated that the area is known to have a variety of animal species white-tailed deer, pronghorn. But their usual recommendations about wildlife-friendly fencing that have been incorporated into the staff report and conditions of approval. All of these agency comments are included in your packets in Exhibit C. Notice of the proposal and of this meeting was sent to adjacent landowners on September 4th. A legal notice was published in the Helena Independent Record on September 12th, and a sign was posted on site on September 13th. And I will note that to date, there have been no public comments that we've received about this project. And so with that, that kind of concludes my brief overview. I'm happy to pause here and take questions, or we can get into the next few slides, but I'm sure.
Yeah, let's pause for a moment here, and thanks for putting up the steps. And today is just the preliminary introduction for this. We will not be making a decision today. We hold that off for at least a week and set a time in the near future for decision day. I just wanted to talk about quickly we kind of had some comments and discussion about the first variance. Second variance is the fire protection arena. And just a little bit of history about the regulation that is in place, or the condition, I guess, with in the subdivision regulations. When we put that in place, there was, and Mr. McNally was here and I was here. I think we're the only two that might have been, I'm not sure. But we consulted the fire community and the fire council, and we asked, what would you like to see as part of this? So they were part of that discussion. We tried to consult with them to find out why and what we would put in here. And one of the things that they were concerned about was firefighter safety. Many of these districts out there are staffed by volunteers. So having to respond to a fire and cross back and forth across a major collector could put firefighters in risk of collision with the public, and 70 mile, or in this case, I think it's 55 now, mile-an-hour road. So that was their concern, was firefighter safety. And we have had this come up before in preliminary approvals and subdivision approvals, where we've had what looks to be an adequate fire source from your facts that you've described so far in your presentation, but it is on the other side of a major collector. We are in process of looking at all of these regulations again right now. Over the next months will be the subdivision regulations are open for review and revision, and so we'll be working with our fire protection community to find out if current regulations are still valid and requested in that form, or if there are ways to make this work more efficiently. But at this time, these are the regulations that are on our books, and we have to follow our regulations, and or if something doesn't make sense in a particular case, then consider a variance. So I just wanted to give that explanation for folks that it may look commonsensical, like, geez, it's right there, why can't we use it? But it does come in contrast with a regulation is on the books, and so we cannot try not to violate our own regulations. So we have to address that through a variance process and determine whether it is something we can move forward with or not. So just that's the explanation on that part. Commissioners, any questions at this point for
Good.
board?
If I might, could you put up the timeline and anticipated should we go forward with this? And approximately the length of time between different steps.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I guess I'm not understanding the timeline for the steps.
I think I can jump in.
Yeah.
So today we're we're just hearing, preliminarily hearing the subdivision. All of these steps then would be addressed on our decision day. So if that's a week from now or 2 weeks from now, we'll set a date today for that decision day, and then we'll have to go through all of these steps, Commissioner.
All right, so
So-
Thank you
basically,
for that.
we're making the public notice and allowing people to comment. And then in 2 weeks, we will follow through these steps should the commission decide to approve. Thank you.
Yeah.
One question is, there is a statutory requirement for response. When are we up, or what's the closest?
Mr. Chair, the 35 day review period ends, I believe it is October 4th.
Okay, so it has to be within the next 2 weeks unless
Yes.
unless we violate that. So, any other questions right now before? Okay, so the applicants and or their representative, Mr. Prothero, is here today. If you'd like to address the commission, you're more than welcome to do so. And I guess my first question as you're approaching, I think Rachel mentioned this, but you do have all of the staff report and the documents and everything that was included. Just acknowledge that if you would. For the record, good morning, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. We have received everything. So,
Okay,
the
then
staff
Tony, if you'd
reports.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Tony Prothero. I'm with J-Bar-T Engineers, and I represent the Mitchells on this project.
Great, thank
Um,
you.
So, it's a pretty simple project, really. I don't know if there's a whole lot to discuss here. I was just gonna add one more thing to this issue of the fire. The fire variance that we're requesting. I think it's certainly recognized that the safety issues that present themselves with having to cross the road or cross over a major road to get to or on and across a road to access the fill site. But sometimes I think after a while, it also creates a lot of fire protection infrastructure if every project ends up having to install a water supply that needs to be maintained by somebody. And what we see a lot in these subdivision regulations, these smaller systems like this, that like what would go into this subdivision. The fire chiefs and the fire departments don't necessarily use them or want to use them because depending on the type of system, it requires them to tie up an engine to fill other fire delivery or water tankers to be able to fight a fire. So a lot of times, we have found that there's a couple of them in the valley that we have gotten some feedback on. One's on Applegate, and I think one's on T Road. That they were 30,000 gallon tanks with a dry hydrant, and we've gotten quite a bit of feedback from those fire chiefs that they just don't. They probably will never use those systems. So I guess where I'm going with this is that I don't think that the applicant doesn't want to do anything. It's not necessarily that. It's just the applicant certainly doesn't want to waste the resources to create something that that the fire departments aren't really ever going to use. So anyhow, and plus we have a water source that's pretty close, and that based on our correspondence with the fire chief of that district, he was not opposed to. He was not in opposition to the variance, and was basically supported that maybe we could use that system for this subdivision. So, we feel that's pretty good justification for maybe the granting of this particular variance. Other than that, though, it's a simple subdivision. We're available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Prothero. Any
Thanks.
questions, Mr. Prothero?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else from your team like to present to Commissioner? Good to go. Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Ward, maybe we can just talk about next steps here, what we'll need to do. We need to set a date, and it looks like a likely candidate is the 3rd of October. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that is correct. That seems like a great opportunity.
Okay, and again, we would have to, as you have on your steps here, we'd have to consider the variance requests and how we would move through those. And well, I'll just leave it at that. Commissioners, any question about the process?
No.
Any further question about the staff report or what is being proposed here? Okay, so how about October 3rd? Is it okay with commissioners? Is that a good date? Are you in agreement with the date? Yes, okay. Please.
Mr. Chair, have we taken public comment?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we're looking at, thank you. I just want to make sure, any other questions from the commission?
No.
Any questions related to the variances or how that works? Or what we have to consider? Okay, how about public comment on this item? Any further public comment or any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, just one request. Offering between now and the 3rd, if there are any questions from the commissioners about how variances work, how we address variances, what the criteria are that we have to meet, because I think it's pretty well laid out what has to be done in order to meet those. So thank you. All right, commissioners, nothing else, then we'd need a motion to take the preliminary plat application under advisement and reconvene here on October 3rd for a consideration and decision.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved and seconded to take the preliminary plat application under advisement and reconvene here on October 3rd, a regular commission meeting for consideration and decision. Commissioners, any other comments?
None.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here, applicants and Mr. Prothero. That commissioners, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission but not on today's agenda. Is there any public comment? Any further public comment? Any public comment? Hearing no public comment, commissioners, thank you very much. We will stand adjourned.